We've all been there, wondering if our hair system has a little bit more life left in it, but how can we know when it's time to truly replace a hair system with a new one? I remember hanging on to one of my hair systems for a bit too long, and let me tell you guys, it really wasn't worth it. Now, my channel is all about saving you money with your hair systems, but it's also really important to know when to say stop and to get a replacement. So today we're going to be looking at the key signs that it's time to move on and get yourself fresh new hair system. Now, I've got a hair system with me today that I've just retired. It's from LaVivid. It is the Coyus. It's sort of like a medium density, medium thickness of base. It's a poly base system, and I'm going to show you it now. This lasted me about 4.5 to 5 months, and I'm going to be walking you through certain characteristics which kind of show it's time to move on. Now, if after watching this video and you feel it's time for you to get a new system, you can get a 15% discount I've negotiated with LaVivid on a new system. All of that information is in the coupon code box below. Now, probably the most obvious sign that you need to consider getting a new hair system is basically when the hair on the system starts shedding. Now, if you look here, you can really see that it's getting quite thin at the back, and this was becoming really quite noticeable. And I remember sort of looking with a mirror at the hair system and noticing that I could genuinely see my scalp because there was so much thinning. And there really is no product that can bring that hair back. And when it becomes pretty obvious to the point that you can see your scalp, that's time to retire the system and get a new one. Now, have you ever noticed that with your hair system? Quite often it happens at the back, especially if you wear a do-rag and you sleep on the back of your head because of the friction against the pillow. It tends to pull out more hair. You also tend to get it at the front. If you tend to expose your hairline, you tend to sort of mess a little bit more with the front of the hair system. So naturally, hair will shed more from the front and the back. It always tends to be thickest in the middle. As you can see with this system, it's still pretty thick in the middle. Now, when I first got this system, it was 115% density, and it's not a million miles off that in the middle. However, when you look at the back, it's now about a 60 to 70%, just because of the friction, the general wear and tear, and also sleeping on the back of my head, which, you know, even with a do-rag, it does naturally pull out hair over time. Now, sign number 2 is a damaged or frayed base. Now, with this base, it's actually still really in good nick. I pretty much only used glue on this particular base, which is generally kinda to poly bases. It doesn't tend to tear the base. Tape is a bit more guilty of that. But yeah, it's in good shape. But what you will notice sometimes, especially if you use tape, is that sometimes the edges can start fraying. You can get little splits. Sometimes you can get little splits in the middle of the base as well. Now, that in itself isn't terminal. But the thing is, the frays and the skims and that kind of thing in the base, they can add up over time. And that naturally weakens the integrity of the actual hair system base itself, and it becomes less robust. So I'd like to encourage you to regularly check the base. Check to see if there's any frays or if it's damaged, if there's any holes popping up. Again, it's not the end of the world. However, it's good to keep a loose eye on these kind of things. Now, I have discussed ad nauseum products that you can use to sort of stave off this problem. You know, semi-permanent dye like Back to Natural, which is what I use. But after a while, after a long time actually, you do find that you're having to use that more and more. And you find yourself asking, actually, is it worth it continually putting the semi-permanent dye in? Because you have to do it more often. And this semi-permanent dye that I use, Back to Natural, is not cheap. It's about £30 a bottle, which is like $40. So I tend to use that sparingly. But towards the end with this, I was finding that I had to use it pretty much every week or every other week, and it was getting expensive. And at that point, it really is time to start considering getting a new system and binning the old one. And you can even see there is some lightening, especially at the front of the system. The hair is lighter than my natural hair. Yes, I used a lot of semi-permanent dye on it, but after a while, it just doesn't hold as well. You can see in the middle, it's still kind of holding its natural color quite well. But, you know, around the sides where I tended to sort of fiddle with it most, where I put a lot of product in and that kind of thing, it really is lightening. Now, sign number 4 is the dryness of the hair. And again, it comes back to you can use as much deep leave-in conditioner as you like. You can use hair masks and that kind of thing. And yes, for a majority of the hair system's lifespan, that works really well. However, it does get to a point where the hair just gets so dry and brittle, it's very difficult to get on top of that, and it remains looking dry all the time. And again, if you look at the back of the system, you can see there the hair itself has become really quite straw-like. And I literally last week used a hair mask on it and it's still like that. And that's when you know, remember guys, this is so important. This isn't natural hair. It's not nourished by the oils on our scalp. This is dead hair that is attached to a membrane, okay? And there's only so much you can do for so long before it starts drying out beyond the rate of repair. When you see that, guys, it's time for retirement and it's time for a new hair system. And sign number 5 is adhesive issues. If you're finding that the adhesive isn't bonding as well to your scalp and the system as well as it used to, this is a major red flag and it's a big sign that you need to consider getting a new hair system. I was finding with this last base that I was kind of like getting like 4 days out of it before I was getting lifts, and it was usually holding for about 2 weeks, no problems whatsoever. However, towards the end, I was getting, 3-4 days maximum out of it before I was having to reapply. And obviously that takes a lot of time. You'll find with a new base that it will bond much better. The product is newer, the product is fresher, it will last longer on your head. Constantly reapplying adhesive to your hair system base is tiring, it's exhausting, it's very, very time consuming. Is this something that you've noticed with a hair system? It may be, maybe you just feel the glue isn't working for you, the tape isn't working for you, or maybe if it's an older system, have you ever considered this, guys? If it's an older system, the reason it's not bonding as well is just because it's older, it's been used a lot, and it's just not as efficient as it used to be. I'd like to add at this point that I was using Ghost Bond on this. I get on really well with Ghost Bond, but even with Ghost Bond, 3-4 days, boom, lifts at the back, at the front, everywhere. It was very time consuming. It was time for a new system. The irony is the system I'm wearing right now is not actually a new system. I wore this when I was on my honeymoon and then I didn't wear it since. This is a LaVivid Louis see-through ultra thin skin base, and I just found it in my cupboard after having not worn it for like 5 months. So it's actually nice to have a little hair system interim until I get my next one cut in, which is going to be the Adrian. It's European version hair. I cannot wait. So you need to make sure that you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and you will be notified about when I start making videos with the Adrian. I cannot wait. Check out the hairline on that. I'm going to be exposing it so much. Knowing the right time to replace your hair system can save you so much hassle, and it can keep you looking at your best. A brief summary of the 5 signs which I've listed within this video. Number 1, shedding or thinning hair. Number 2, a damaged or frayed base. Number 3, and a really important one, is color fading. Number 4 is dry straw-like hair that doesn't respond to a deep mask conditioner. And sign number 5 is adhesive issues. So based on this information, do you think it's time for you to replace your system and get a new one? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always checking and responding. And are there any tips that you'd like to share for extending the life of your hair system? I'm really looking forward to hearing your responses, guys, and I'll speak with you very soon. Bye for now.